Hola y bienvenidos. Welcome to Mole Mama Cooking with Love. I'm so delighted that you're joining us today. I have a very special guest for you. I have this lovely woman. If you are not following her now, go over to Instagram right now and find Lovetocook4ppl. Oh my gosh, you're going to be blown away by her food. It's so gorgeous. So you are going to be hungry and you're going to be wanting to cook. So I'm just warning you now. So I have Christy joining me today from Cambridge in the UK. So hola, Christy, and welcome to Mole Mama.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for being here. And can you tell our listeners a little bit about your Instagram feed, because it's amazing, and you have other things that you're doing. But why don't we talk about Love to Cook for People?
I basically started because I was putting my food on Facebook and all my family and friends got so sick of seeing my food. So somebody suggested that I try Instagram, and I actually couldn't believe that there was all these people that thought the same as me and felt the same way about food as me. So it was quite a revelation, really. And it kind of went from there, really. And it's just kind of snowballed, which is quite exciting.
It's fantastic. Now, were you first of all, where did your name come from? Because it's a really unique name. It's lovely.
I couldn't actually think of anything else. and I was trying to find names with my husband, and everything to do with my name had gone. And he said, well, what do you like to do? And I said, well, I love to cook. And he said, well, you love cooking for people, don't you? And I said, yeah. So that was taken. So I had to shorten it to the PPL. But that's kind of how it came about, complete accident, really.
It's a lovely name. And so do you take your own pictures, or like, your pictures are lovely?
Thank you. I've had to teach myself how to use the camera, really, because I started out using my phone, and I think my presentation wasn't very good. Probably 2 years ago, it was dreadful. And sometimes Facebook memories pop up. Oh my gosh, that's awful. But yeah, I've had to teach myself A, the presentation side of things, and B, taking photos. I had a Canon camera in the cupboard that I'd just not used at all, and I thought, I wonder if I can get that out, and I didn't really know how to use it. I've kind of picked it up along the way, and you kind of pick up camera angles and how you think things should look. And now I get to the point where I make a dish and I already know which angle I'm going for before I've done it. But I do sometimes surprise myself. But yeah, self-taught, and yeah, I think I've got a lot better than I was a long time ago. If you scroll down to the bottom of my feed, some of them are terrible, as I'm sure we could all say.
They're absolutely lovely, and that's amazing that you taught yourself, and that when I look at them, they're just so droll worthy. And also, so tell me this. So you're cooking at home. Does your family like want to go crazy because they want to eat those brownies that you made, or have that lamb that you made a few weeks ago?
Oh, that was so good. Sometimes, but do you know what? I think it's only been very recently. I've got 2 teenage kids and 2 small children. And I think it's only very recently that the teenagers have actually realised that I'm actually okay at cooking, because they have certain things and they say, oh, wow, that was so good. And then they go somewhere else and they're kind of like, oh, that wasn't as good as yours. You know, so you go out somewhere for something to eat. But it took them a long time to probably appreciate me, I think. But the small ones, everything is just, oh, I don't like that, as soon as something appears on the table.
Well, like for me, when I cook something, and then my husband's always starving and ready to eat, and yeah. I set it up to try to take a picture of it, and he's like, okay, when do I actually get to eat it? So does that happen to you? Because he's like dying. Or if we go out to eat, it's like, oh, yeah. How many pictures?
Yeah, he's kind of got used to the fact that every dish has a photo shoot. Even if I think it might not be photo worthy, I need to take one because I might have missed an opportunity there. So yeah, he just resigned himself to the fact that it happens now, and he doesn't even think about eating until I'm done.
Okay, so he needs to train my husband because my husband still hasn't gotten it. So we need to have them talk because my
Yeah.
husband is lurching. Like, wait, when is this happening?
There's a couple of pictures on my page where he's dived in as I've gone to take the picture because he just can't wait any longer.
Well, yeah, those brownies. You had that. There's stack of gooey brownies. Oh,
Yes,
I wouldn't
they
have been
were
able
really
to
good.
wait. They look so good.
He did come down to have one the other day, and I realised he'd taken the rest of them to work, so they were gone. I'm gonna have to make some more. Yeah, when I'm baking, normally people start to arrive.
Yeah, my husband has a thing about these chocolate cupcakes that I make, and I think the most he's ever eaten is 18 in one day. They're
Wow.
chocolate cupcakes that have cream cheese and chocolate. I know, like he's really.
Wow.
I know it's bad. Okay,
That's terrible.
it's terrible. But tell me this: how did you learn how to cook? Because were you a professional chef at some time? I mean,
No. I think I've never really known what I wanted to do in life. I've never really kind of found a passion. And I don't think it was until I started Instagram. I always knew I could cook because I could kind of adapt to things, and I could make things quite decent. But when I started Instagram, I started paying attention to the presentation and more how things tasted as well. And then kind of realized that I can probably turn my hand to most things, which I'd not realized before. And then I kind of thought, oh, well, actually, this is kind of my happy place. And in the kitchen and cooking, and I'm relaxed, and I feel happy. So it's probably taken me 42 years to realize that actually this is something I really love. And I just hadn't realized it before. And when people started to say, oh wow, that looks amazing, or how did you do that, or asking for advice, or telling me how good things are, I kind of thought, oh, maybe it does look good, maybe it is good. So yeah, accident really.
accident. Well, did you cook though then with your mom or your grandmother, or was it a part of your family experience as you were growing up?
My mum was a Sunday cook, so I would always be sat on the bench with her on a Sunday, baking scones and making Sunday dinner, and I'd be kind of doing a little bit of biscuit making in the corner, and she'd be doing all the rest of the stuff. And I think her and my grandma had lots of children. There was 10 children, so she always was cooking, and there was always a pot of soup on the go. Or Sunday dinners, everybody would line up at the cooker, and you'd get your plate and sit down, and by the time you'd finished, somebody else could sit down. So it was always really family focused. So yeah, I think it probably food memories came from there. They were nice things and happy things, and things that I really remember quite dearly. So yeah, that's probably why.
That's a lovely story, and I think I also that's where my cooking came from, was cooking with my mother. So that's how I have great memories of cooking with her. And I know that you're in the UK, and I've spent some time there, so I know what Sunday dinners are. But for our listeners who haven't been to the UK, aren't familiar with the culture, because it's such a lovely thing, can you share with our listeners what a Sunday is?
Oh, a Sunday dinner is always a roast. So it's roast chicken, roast lamb, roast beef, and you have to have roast potatoes, and then there has to be probably 4 or 5 different vegetables, Yorkshire puddings, which I think you guys call popovers.
Yes.
Do you? Yeah. Yes. Yorkshire puddings. Yes. And lots and lots of gravy and stuffing if it's chicken, and obviously apple sauce and cranberry sauce, all that kind of thing. it's kind of like a Christmas dinner every Sunday.
Which is
And it's
fantastic.
lovely, a big family thing. But that was always, it doesn't really matter what time of year it was always roast dinner on a Sunday. So yeah, it's quite a nice
I remember
family time.
the first time that I heard about that when I was in the UK, and I've actually been to somebody's home and experienced that. And I was like, what a lovely tradition that is to celebrate every Sunday with your family. And with this roast and I was like, can it be something else? They're like, nope, it's a roast. Like, okay, it's a roast.
Even when it's been sort of 30 degrees or Celsius here, but 30 degrees outside, and I'm cooking a roast dinner, and my husband's saying, you don't have to do it roast, you know. I'm like, oh, I do, because it's Sunday, and it just has to be a roast on a Sunday, doesn't it? And normally, always, my son comes down, are you making roast dinner? Yes, making roast dinner. If it's ever a no, he's like, oh. So yeah, so it's a definite big tradition.
It's really a lovely tradition. So can you share so you have all this food on Instagram. What are some of your most popular recipes and posts that you have?
I think probably there's one my son says is the best chicken he's ever had, and it's ginger sesame chicken, and that's probably the one that I give the recipe for the most, or the one that people ask for the most. It's lovely. It's really good. You need to try it.
I need to try it because I love ginger, and I'm like, oh, I have ginger in the refrigerator. Okay.
It's really good. It's not the most healthy dish, but it's really good. But then my dishes generally aren't the most healthy dishes.
Neither am I.
So, no. Good.
Oh no. No.
I'm definitely not a health freak. I think I'll never be skinny, but there we go.
You know, I think for me, I grew up on a farm, so food was always about comfort and about love and celebrating life. And you know, there are a lot of people that are doing great healthy recipes, and that's not usually me. It's
No.
like I need the real food. I need the real butter. I need the real cream. I need, you know. Yeah, no.
Definitely. That's the same as me.
No. So tell me about this ginger chicken then. Is it fried? Is it sauteed? Like,
it is. It's coated in seasoned flour, so I think it's paprika. I can't remember off the top of my head. Paprika, flour, salt, pepper. So you coat it, and then flash fry it, and take it out of the pan, and then you start the sauce, and then pop it back in the pan and finish it all together, and it thickens up nicely. Actually, I was making it the other week, and normally when I'm making it, the older children come downstairs as soon as they can smell it. And I'd taken it out of the pan and popped it on the plate, and I went to do something, I can't remember what, and I came back and they were both giggling. And I said, what did you do? And they'd both stolen a piece of the chicken, which wasn't cooked because it finishes off in the sauce. And I said, did you eat that? And they both, I said,
oh my goodness.
It's not cooked.
Oh my goodness.
They were fine, but it obviously serves them right for stealing.
Oh my. Okay, so I'm going to definitely make that recipe because I love ginger so much. So does my hubby. So we'll have to have that.
You love that.
Okay, and so what about desserts? Because those brownies. Oh gosh.
It's kind of my nemesis, desserts, because I've never been very good at baking. As a cook, I like to throw stuff into a recipe, and I kind of know what's going to work and what's not. So baking is really precise, and everything has to be measured. So I kind of struggle there.
I do too. I do too.
Yeah.
Because I can't follow directions.
Neither can I.
But I see stuff on your Instagram feed that's definitely dessert. It looks amazing. So you definitely find it.
Wow. The brownies, it was kind of a rolling idea, because I thought I wanted a layer of runny chocolate honey that I was sent through the middle. And I thought, I wonder if I freeze the chocolate honey to see whether that would work. So I tried freezing it, and that just didn't work. So I'd had half the brownie mixture in the bottom and spread the honey across really gently to try and get it to stay in the middle, and then pop the other side on top. And thankfully it did leave a nice layer. But they were so good. They were so good.
It looks so good.
It worked. It was a complete experiment, and I didn't know whether it was going to work or not, but it did.
That's
thankfully.
Lovely. That's really lovely, because I really struggle with baking too, and it's this. I always tell people, I think there are two different types of cooks. I think there are people, and if you love to cook like I do, like meals and food, it's very different than baking, because you don't follow directions. And even when I capture recipes for people, I have to be very careful that I'm measuring things and I'm writing them down, because I don't do that when I just cook for my family. I just don't.
Yeah, that's been a big thing that I've had to learn, is to write things down. And the first time I made that ginger sesame chicken, I didn't write it down. and it was so good. And you know, when you take a first mouthful and you go, oh wow, oh my God, what did I put in that? Because it was so good. So I kind of had to go back as soon as I'd finished and write it all down, because I knew that I needed to make it again, and I knew that people were going to say, how do you make it? And they have several times. So on my post, I'd actually edited it afterwards and said, I think this is what I put in it. but I've made it since, and it was what I put in it, and it was good. So it's a firm favorite now.
That's fantastic. I've had to do exactly the same thing, because I'll make something and not thinking that I'm going to share it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so delicious. And my husband will go, are we going to be able to recreate that? Like, did you write it down? Is it like, or is it just a one-time thing? I'm like, So I've also had to get much better at like, okay, that's right. I got to
write it down. Yeah.
Okay. So what is some of the, we've talked about what's popular on your Instagram feed, but like, what's your favorite? Like your personal, like, oh, I just love that.
I think steak is my favorite thing, because I used to be terrible at cooking steak. And I said to my husband a couple of years ago, what do you think I'm not very good at cooking? And he said steak. I said, oh, okay. so of course I kind of took that as a bit of a challenge, and I think I've perfected it now. I've got it to the point where it's perfect now. And a really good steak is it's just one of the best things ever, isn't it? With a nice chimichurri or a nice Stilton sauce. Oh, it's just heavenly.
I am such a farm girl, and yes, I still absolutely love steak. So do you grill yours, or how do you, before you put
normally cast iron pan. So I normally just make sure it's very, very dry, and then cast iron. And then after I've turned it, butter and rosemary or thyme, sometimes garlic. But I've just been given a Traeger. I've just been taken on by Traeger. So I'm going to do a Traeger steak tomorrow, I think. So I'm quite excited about that.
Okay, I'll have to check that out tomorrow. That's very exciting.
Yeah.
I saw your lamb that you did too. Like I mentioned that earlier, but my family's not a big lamb. They're not big lamb fans, but I am. So I was like, oh
my goodness! You could have meals for weeks if you made one, because you could just pop it in the freezer.
You know, that's a really good idea. I might have to.
Yeah, just for you. Just for you.
So, how do you develop these recipes? How do you do that?
I think I was discussing this with my husband yesterday, because I think as a person, you either have a good palate or you don't. You can either taste things and know what goes with them, or you don't really. And certain things he just can't tell the difference between things. And I say, oh, is that nice? And he says, yeah, it's good. You know, but he's not passionate like I am about food. And my son seems to be a bit more into it than I do. You know, he can taste things and he's like, oh, that was really good. Whereas he's just not that fast. So I think, I don't know, just kind of, I don't know if it's a learned thing or if it's already there, but just knowing what goes with what, really. And I suppose what I like, really. Everybody has to eat whatever I want to eat, so you'll do the same.
That's what my husband always says. He's like, you ask me what I want to eat, and then you just make what you want to make anyway. So
Yeah, I do that too.
So what can you tell us about something that you tried that didn't work? Right, because I know that we usually only post pictures of the things. I did see you talk about I think it was a Portuguese pastry that you were trying, or
Oh yes, pastilha de natas. I don't know if I've said that right, but it's an egg custard tart. And we went to Nando's, and I'd never had one before, and I had one of those. I was like, oh wow, this is amazing. And I'd never tried it, and I just thought I need to try and make these. But wow, the process. And I don't think they look that good. I think I managed to hide it, but they tasted good, but they just didn't look like they should have looked. Again, baking, isn't it? I did put on my stories a little while ago quite a few fails, because I don't know if you're the same, but my phone is full of pictures that I just haven't posted yet. Things that I've just not got time to post, or maybe I thought weren't quite good enough. So I did like a little montage of all the ones that didn't make it.
Oh, I missed that somehow. I love that you did that, because I think it's important for people that are trying to cook or learning to cook or expanding what they can cook, that to know that we don't always get it right.
No, we always make mistakes, always. And sometimes you'll look back at a picture and think, oh, that was awful. That was just awful. Or, you know, something just looked really orange, or just didn't look that good. It didn't look how you thought it would. So I kind of put them all on there, and I did have a really good response. Lots of people were like, wow, I can't believe that you've actually shown all your failures.
That
is fail as well.
I need to go find that. That is so lovely that you did that, because I haven't had the courage to do that. So that's awesome that you have. So it's good.
We definitely all fail, don't we? So
we do.
Yeah.
We definitely. I've oversalted things. Oh my gosh, so many times. That's like a big thing for me, is that I just go crazy. Sometimes I'm not paying attention as I dump that salt thing in, and it tastes horrific. Like you can't even touch it. Or the salt thing comes off, and I don't know if that's right, and all the salt goes in. It's like, oh dear.
That happened to a friend once, and I'd made a lovely 3-course dinner, and we had sea bass, and it was so pretty, and we sat down, and she was saying, I can't work this, and then it just went all over her dinner. Oh no.
Yeah,
I spent ages cooking that.
Yes. And I've also burnt a lot of things.
Yeah, we all burn stuff, don't we?
Now, do you burn your hands or your arms, or like I have scars everywhere? Like,
yes, I burnt my arm really badly actually last year over the kettle. I'd reached over to get something, and it was just boiled, and oh, wow, that took a good 6 months to go down, and it's still scarred now. So I think I went through quite a few layers of skin there. That was rather painful.
They're so painful, the burns are. And I did something similar where it was, I was straining some pasta, and somehow the steam came up on my hand, and it burnt my hand. Like it was from the steam that,
ouch,
and it blistered, and you know, it was discolored, and it was a mess. But yeah.
Steam
so be careful. Okay, listeners, be careful with the steam, because you don't think it's going to get you, but it can. It really can. So you also
hazard.
Pardon me?
Sorry, occupational hazard.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. Okay, so you also have this hashtag World's Greatest Home Cooks.
Yes.
Can you tell our listeners about that? Because that's a cool hashtag.
I actually started a page because when I joined Instagram, I found lots of people the same as me. And the more I learned about Instagram and how to progress and how to get better at it, the more people were contacting me and asking for help. And the more I kind of found people, smaller people, you know, that needed sort of a lift up and needed help. And I kind of thought it would be quite nice to help in another way. And home cooking is a big passion of mine. I mean, I love to go out to eat, but I love home cooking more. Mm-hmm. So I thought it would be quite nice to celebrate home cooks. I wanted to make it worldwide. So strangely, the name was still available. So I kind of went for it, and I thought, well, I'll feature people who are home cooks. And, you know, if I look and I think that their dish is great or it deserves to be shown somewhere, then I'll feature it. So I kind of have been growing the page slowly, but it's quite hard having time to get onto that page and onto my page. So I've got a friend to help me now, and she just dips in and does a day, and then I'll do a day. So between us, it works quite well, actually. She's very helpful. But yeah, it's just nice to celebrate people and just to help people out a little bit, I think.
That's really lovely. And there's some amazing chefs on there as well that you've found, which is just lovely. It's really lovely.
More and more tags every day. So yeah, it's great. It's nice to have a choice of lovely food to feature as well.
Okay, I've got to start tagging some of my stuff.
Yes, do it. Definitely do it.
I definitely will. So, what has been some of the, you know, one or two of the biggest surprises that has come your way from starting Love to Cook for People? It's been shocking.
I think the fact that actually people want to see what I'm doing. That's probably surprises me the most, because I think every 1,000 I've reached, I've thought, wow, why are these people even interested in what I do? It's just so strange. But people are, and just the lovely comments all the time. People that say, you know, oh, wow, that looks amazing. I think, oh, every single one means something. So yeah, just the fact that people are interested. And then I've just started to work with Traeger as well. That surprised me, because I always kind of think maybe it's not good enough. Maybe what I've done is not good enough. And I'm always expecting every post to dive bomb. You know, oh, it's not that good. Maybe it's not going to do very well. I suppose maybe I'm my best critic. I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, surprised that people are interested in what I'm cooking, really.
Well, it's so beautiful. And I think just talking to you, you're just so genuine and real. So I can understand why people are interested in you. That genuine, you're just genuine. So I think that's fantastic. So what do you think is next for you? Do you have interest in like doing a cookbook or?
I would love to do a cookbook. Yeah, I would love to do that. Yeah, I think getting my recipes down somewhere would be amazing. Yeah, I don't know really. I'm kind of the same as I always have been in life. I just don't know. I have no idea. Something cooking related, obviously. But yeah, a cookbook would be amazing. Yeah, I'm kind of just seeing where it takes me, really. Seeing what happens and just enjoying it, really.
And I think that's the best thing that you can do, is to enjoy the journey. That's really the big lesson, is I think for many of us, is to enjoy that journey. And I hope you have a cookbook. And I think that what I've been seeing is, or hearing from my editor is, because I'm working on a new cookbook, is that book sales are down, but cookbook sales are up. So
yes, Yes, everybody loves to cook at the
yes,
moment, which is
yes.
great.
So I think that could happen for you. I hope it does.
That would be exciting.
Yes. Okay. So then tell me, has there been any challenges? You have a really big Instagram following. How do you keep up with all of
It's quite hard, actually.
it?
When I first started, I would make sure that I got to everybody, and I replied to everybody, and I would go to their page and see what they were doing, and I tried to chat to as many people as possible. But the bigger it gets, the harder it gets, because the more people you miss, which is quite frustrating, because then you might see someone pop up and think, oh, I haven't seen them for however long, and it's just physically impossible to get to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I think probably the hardest thing has been some online bullying. It just I know it happens, but it's just unpleasant. And there's always somebody, probably once every couple of months, that pops up, and it's just not nice. But I've developed a thicker skin, and I kind of just let it go now, because I think some people are just like that. But there's lots of lovely, supportive people on there, and I've made some amazing friends. And I never thought I would have friends that I've not met, but talk to almost every day. And, when we learn from each other, and who I can tell are just the most wonderful people. So,
Lovely.
the challenges come with the bonuses, don't they, with this every cloud. So yeah, it's part and parcel, I think. But yeah, overall it's 10% bad and 90% good. So
That's a really great way to look at it. And I too have had the bullying. I have it more on my YouTube channel. It's pretty brutal, actually. Really? Oh yeah. And I've been trying to figure out how to block things and do different things. And it does give you a thicker skin. And I think that where I've finally gotten to with it is like, okay, that person is so much less happy than me or less fulfilled than me, that they feel like they have to attack my lack of being Mexican enough, or whatever it is they're like having an issue with. Right?
My grandma says, if you have, or used to say, if you have nothing nice to say, then say nothing at all. And it's so true. You don't need to be nasty. Just don't say anything. So yeah.
But it does hurt. It does hurt when you're putting yourself out there. So
definitely, because you are kind of putting a post out and waiting for the criticism. Yes. And when you get it, you're kind of a bit like, oh, okay. But then you have to think, Kirsty, just ignore it. Just let it go. It doesn't matter. People have commented on the dullness of my knives, or I know I'm not a professional chef. I don't have lots of money, so it's crazy, but I think some people just need to say things like that.
Yeah, I think one of the harshest things that I've gotten on my crunchy taco video, which is my most popular video, is I got I had this one guy recently say, let's put your hands together, can we just say whitewash? And I'm like, really? My grandmother walked into this country from Mexico. I may not look like a typical Mexican person, but really?
Oh my gosh. And that's so rude, isn't it? It's so rude. And these people know nothing about you.
No.
To be able to make a judgment, but
no.
Just let them get on with it.
Let them get on with it. But I did want to share that with our listeners, because it's a part of what happens when you are on social media. And it's interesting that you said that that's one of the most challenging parts of your journey, because I would say that that's probably been one of the most hurtful parts of my journey. But it does help you get, like you said, a tougher skin, and you just get on with it, as you also said. So if you had any advice for Christy now that you're past the 10,000 mark on Instagram and you were just getting started today, what would you say to her?
I'd probably say get the camera out a bit sooner. Just a bit sooner, because as soon as I started paying attention to the photography side of it, that's when things got so much better. I mean, you can cook an amazing dish, but if you take a terrible photo as well, it just doesn't do it justice. So the two need to complement each other, really. It's unfortunate because you can't just be a great cook, you have to know how to use a camera as well. So yeah, I probably would say get the camera out sooner. It's not really cooking related, is it? But yeah.
And so we just have a couple more minutes. So I just wanted to ask you one more thing. So, during our shelter in place and we've got a pandemic going on, do you have any advice for our listeners who are, maybe for the first time having to cook many meals in a day, and, for their families?
Oh, yes.
Do you have any wisdom for our listeners?
I would say just pull out your cupboards and just go through what's in the cupboards, because you'd be amazed what you can make from what's in there. I've always got fairly stocked cupboards, but there is stuff at the back that I've kind of not touched, so I've kind of been pulling stuff out and thinking, oh, well, I haven't got this, so what else could I use? What could I use instead? So yeah, I've kind of thrown stuff in that I wouldn't necessarily have used. I'm more than happy to help if anybody is stuck and they've got a tin of this, or they've got this in the freezer. What could they do with it? I'm more than happy to come up with ideas. I often have friends texting me saying, what can I do with so and so? But it's kind of about using what we've got, isn't it, and making the most of it. We're quite lucky. We've got a drive-through shop here, farm shop at the moment. I know, it's amazing. It's a brilliant farm shop, but you can drive through in your car and stop and tell them what you want. They'll go and find it for you and bring it back, and then it's like a contactless payment. So they do awesome meat as well. So I've been using them and doing
fantastic.
It's amazing. And doing a sort of long cook with something like the lamb, for example, that can just last and go in the freezer and be repurposed for different meals. So I think last week I only used 2 bits of meat and we made them last the whole week, which was great. So yeah, go through the cupboards, dig out stuff in the freezer, stuff that you've not wanted to use.
That's really good advice. And I did something similar where last weekend I pulled out my grill and I did some chicken and I did some tri-tip, which is a beef cut. And then we pretty much, that was all week long. And I made tacos out of it one night and I made a salad with some of it the next night. And
that's what I love.
Sandwiches. And so I just kept repurposing it. So
yes,
I did.
That's what I love. I love being able to buy a certain piece of meat and just keep using it and keep reinventing it. And actually they get better the longer you cook them often. Yeah, that's definitely what I would say. Bigger bits of meat, you can order online as well, huge bits of meat, and just keep using and using all week, or freezing.
That's great advice. So do you have anything else you want to say to our listeners? I know I really enjoyed learning more about you. You're such a lovely human. You just got this great presence about you. So
thank you. That's really
so
sweet.
Lovely to chat with you.
I was super nervous, but it's actually been fine.
Good. You didn't seem nervous. I told you weren't going to seem nervous. So, I've seen you on camera before on your videos. So,
Oh, I know, but I kind of do that in the secret of the kitchen when the door's closed so nobody's listening.
Oh, we still get to
pretend there's no one there. I know, but I pretend there's nobody there.
Okay. Well, you were so lovely to chat with, and
thank you.
So looking forward to with what you continue to come up with, and I'm so glad that somebody who follows me connected me with you, and so we got to chat. So the beauty of Instagram and this big, huge world where we get to meet people that we wouldn't
Foodie
otherwise.
families.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for being with us today.
Thank you for asking me.
All right. All right, everyone. Thank you for listening to Molly Mama Cooking with Love. Remember to add the most important ingredient to every recipe you make, your love. And as my mama always said to me as we said our goodbyes, que Dios te bendiga. May God bless you and be well.